odd man out right now. Look at that, Harley, 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 and me. At least I got the V-twin going for me. Alright guys, you saw that beautiful intro. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I bought a Ducati. I have always said that I was not going to buy a Ducati because of the service cost, not because of the looks, not because of the speed, not because of anything, but only because of the service costs. This bike actually came into my hands through Facebook, searching the marketplace one day, and it was a deal that couldn't be passed up because this bike only has 300, or when I bought it now, I only had 300 miles on it. That is why I bought a Ducati, because of the price that the person was offering couldn't be ignored. This will be a first ride. I've ridden it for about 2 days now, I guess, 2 or 3 days now, and this will be my first ride impressions of a 2018. Let me see if this camera angle is good. It should be now. 2018 Ducati Panigale 959, riding out here in Oahu. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, which is me looking at the bike and getting on the bike. So your first impressions of this bike are how gorgeous it is. Not only are the lines and the body and everything of this bike beautiful, but the color is also absolutely incredible looking bike all around. Red wheels, white body. It's actually Arctic white color. I love it. I would not have gotten this bike if it was the normal Ducati red. It didn't stand out to me. It wasn't the style I was going for, and I just wouldn't have done it. But because this one was white, that's why it became an option. Now, first, sitting on the bike. Let's do that, because that will kind of coincide with looking at the bike, your first impression. So when I sat on this bike for the first time, I noticed that it was a lot narrower than mine. My bike was very wide. It is a inline 4, obviously, like a lot of super sports are, and it was a very wide bike in the front. And this one, being a V-twin, was not wide, not as wide as that one at least. So the bike is a lot more narrow, like I said. It makes it feel just a little bit lighter. It might not necessarily be a lighter bike. I don't know the specs on that, but it feels lighter because your field of view says that it's lighter. If that makes sense, it's like your eyes are playing tricks on you. So the bike is a lot more skinny than the ZX-10 was, and a lot of the 4-cylinder super sports are these days. To go along with first impressions of the bike and sitting on it, this seat is lower to the ground than my ZX-10 was. So what that means for a short little rider like me, I am 5'10" with a 33-inch inseam. If that helps anybody out there. This 959 sits lower to the ground. I don't know the exact specs. This is my first ride with a camera on the bike, so no specs are going to be in this video, but it does sit lower to the ground. My feet are more planted. I'm less tiptoey. I have a little bit more grasp on a hill or anything on the ground, and I like that personally. I don't know who would want to be tiptoeing on a bike, but this one feels a lot better in that regard. Also, the seat, first impressions of the seat. This is the stock seat on the 959, and it is very hard. It's not as wide as my ZX10 seat, so what that's going to do is it's going to make the inside of my leg hurt just a little more and be a little bit less comfortable riding around on the street. Riding around in the corners, riding around on the track, it's going to feel perfectly fine because the seat is made for that. It's made to corner. It's contoured right here where you can get leaned over really comfortably. That is what it likes to do. This bike corners very, very well. These tires, or these stock tires on this bike, are also very good tires for what this bike is going to be used for. It's a Pirelli Diablo Rosso Corsa or something like that. So these are going to be sticky enough to where you can corner and you can get in there and you don't have any confidence issues in the corner, but also it's going to have enough street ability to where it's not going to wear down. Look at the puppy, look at the puppy, hey puppy. As we move away from your first impressions of the bike, I'll go into the next step is starting the bike. So starting the bike, you have this beautiful dash up here, all digital. It is not a TFT display, even though it is 2018. It's not that fancy. It does have rider modes, which are customizable with your traction control, your engine braking, and ABS to set them to your liking for each mode. And you have a high, medium, and a low engine power mode, customizable within each of those sport, race, and wet riding modes, so you can get a more comfortable ride on the bike as you would like it. It's fully customizable. You have 8 different traction control modes, 3 different engine braking modes, and 3 different ABS modes, along with the medium, high, and low engine power output. All right, so the next step would be starting the bike. So when you first start this bike, you're gonna notice that the exhaust, I'm not sure how the European models are, but for the American underslung exhaust models, this exhaust is actually gonna be surprisingly loud for stock. It surprised me how loud it is. Once again, don't have a spec on actually the decibel level, but I know that it was louder than my ZX10 at stock. And my ZX10 had a Krapovich exhaust on it, so this one is louder. And the nice, low, grunty V-twin engine putting out a beautiful exhaust note that is noticeable from anywhere you go. Next, on the Panigale 959 for 2018, whenever you put this thing in gear, it's going to give a nice solid, not super loud clutch or gear engagement. It's going to let you know that it is in first gear. I've never ridden a motorcycle that has been confusing if it's in first gear or not, but it is a good solid mechanical feel whenever you put it into first gear. The throttle is, I'm not 100% sure for the throttle. I know Chase on 2 wheels might have touched on this point whenever he rode a 959 Panigale also, and he did touch on whenever you put it in first gear, the RPMs raise maybe just a fraction of an amount. I don't know why it does that. It might be just a computer thing to help assist in takeoff. But whenever I start letting out of the clutch and I give it just a little bit of gas, it does ever so slightly raise the RPMs higher than what my throttle position is telling the bike to do. So I could have a consistent throttle feel, or I could have a consistent throttle turn whenever I start taking off, but the bike is gonna kind of like make the RPM spike a little bit more to, I guess, assist in the takeoff so you don't stall. I'm not sure what that is, but it does do that, and Chase on 2 wheels also said the same thing, and I concur with him. Once you get going though, this bike is a very, very nimble weapon of speed on the street. It's very fast. It's very, I wouldn't say comfortable, but this bike does have a way about it that lets you know what you are riding, but also has a degree of ease whenever you ride. So right now, just cruising in first gear, kind of touch and go on the clutch, 100% just like everyone else that has ridden a 959 Panigale or the 899. They will say that, or I guess the V4 too, I wouldn't exclude the V4 from this, but everyone does say that it is a hot bike if you're not moving down the road, which is 100% true. The exhaust for the rear cylinder is chilling right beneath my buttocks, and it does keep me nice and warm, which might be good for you people that are up there in the cold weather. That might be a very good thing for you guys, but for me right now, being in Hawaii, it's about 73 degrees here, and it's just keeping me nice and toasty underneath my long pants that are already keeping me semi-warm. Open my visor up a little bit because it's getting kind of hot in here. Right now, we've been in this traffic for about 5-6 minutes, just came off of the highway, so the highway warmed the bike up nice and well, nice and good, and just cruising right there. We were at 221 degrees Fahrenheit for our engine oil temperature, which is a little bit lower than my ZX10 would do. Everything's going to be compared to my ZX10 if you're wondering, but my ZX10 would top out maybe at 230, 235. The cutoff, or the yeah, actually I think the cutoff for the bike engine temperature was 240, so it was very, very close to that. These fans and radiator and everything are probably a lot more efficient than that ZX10 was, because it was from 2004. This bike being 2018, I have some degree of trust that it's going to be a lot better than a 2004 technology. Sitting here at a stop, like I said, my feet are nice and lower to the ground than my ZX10 was. I feel the heat coming up, and the clutch is amazing. If you want to sit there and not be in neutral and you want to sit in first gear, the clutch is pretty light. It is a hydraulic clutch instead of cable driven, so it's going to be a lot easier to pull than your typical cable clutch is going to be. I love the sound of this engine. It's absolutely incredible. It might be hard for you guys to hear with all these Harleys around me, but trust me, it sounds amazing. There are tons of videos on YouTube with the stock Panigale 959 exhaust, and it does sound pretty good. We're making our way to the east, and once we get as far east as we can go, then we are going to head around the south side of the island and come back west and head home. So I don't know if you guys can notice this, but right now my bike is at maybe it says 1300 RPMs. It was kind of riding that 12 and 1400 RPM line. Whenever I am rolling, right now we're sitting at 1600 RPMs. Each line is 200 RPM, so we're sitting at 1600 while I'm rolling. And as soon as I stop, the bike realizes that there is a 0 mile per hour speed, and the bike will drop its RPMs down to an idle. So right now, I guess it's not at complete idle speed. That's just the computer letting it know that you're still rolling. I don't know why it does that. Once again, I guess it's just how they tune the engine. So watch when I stop, watch when I stop. It goes down, see that? It goes down by 1.5 lines, because that final line or the second line there is flickering a little bit, so it's telling me that it's kind of almost there, but not quite. I really enjoy riding this bike. All in all, first impressions, riding, this is actually the longest ride that I've been on so far. My arms do feel a little bit more tired than the ZX10. The handlebars are a little bit wider than the ZX10. I don't know what plays into my arms being tired, but the ergonomics on this bike are very close to what the ZX10 were. It's not scrunching me up, it's not laying me out. It feels very comfortable, and it is pretty comparable to what I had before, ergonomics wise. If you are looking to get a Panigale 959 or the 899, because they are almost the exact same bike, there are very few differences between the two. If you're looking into getting one of those bikes, and you know how to ride a bike already, check out my beginner rider, what bike you should get as a beginner rider video. If you are a beginner rider and you just are wondering what bike you should start on, I kind of cover a few topics on that video, so go check that out. I'll link that right now in the corner of your screen. But if you are an experienced rider and looking into a Ducati Panigale 959, I actually do recommend this bike. It is all around a very, very nice bike. The fit and finish is unmatched. Being a Ducati, it's absolutely unmatched. Beautiful, everything is nice and solid. The only thing I don't like are the mirrors. Obviously, nobody really likes their stock mirrors. These are very, I don't know, flimsy feeling. There are videos and pictures and instances online to where someone can just walk by one of these mirrors. They don't fold, so they can just walk by, accidentally hit one the wrong way, and it will completely break off and just be hanging there. I don't know why they wouldn't make them fold. They don't stick out past the handlebars, so maybe that's why. If you get into a space that is too narrow for the handlebars, then the mirrors don't matter anymore. I'm not sure, but I just know that the mirrors don't fold and they do break off. Let's give this baby some juice, you know what I'm saying? Look at that. Don't come to Hawaii if you are looking for good gas prices, because it's $3.94 for this. Absolutely insane. So just over 2 gallons, and it's $8.55. Since we just filled up, it would be appropriate to talk about gas now. The highest octane rating gas at your normal pump, which is probably in America going to be 92, 93. It says a minimum octane rating for this Ducati is 90. So anything above 90 is going to be okay for this bike. The lower the number, the more opportunity for engine knocking. I have gotten 46.8 average miles to the gallon on this ride, and we have sat in traffic for a little bit. We rode on the highway for a little bit. So I'd say that's pretty good. Almost 50 miles to the gallon for these 955cc 2 cylinders pumping away, pushing me down the road. And also I'm looking cool doing it, getting almost 50 miles to the gallon with the stock exhaust, and everything is stock on this bike. Now that I have let you know that everything is stock on the bike, I can talk about power compared to a 2004 ZX10R and a ZX6R, a 2020 bike, which I have ridden also from Cycle City, and that bike doesn't have as much power, noticeably, as this one does. The ZX10R has a little bit more power actually I would say just about everywhere. I think it's more of a torque thing. That bike had more torque than this one does. This one has about comparable numbers for power, horsepower wise, but the torque, the initial torque that the bike can put out, seems like it puts out quite a bit more power. Being 955 cc's, you would think that it would be, you know, it's 50 cc's away from being a leader bike. This bike has not as tall as a first gear. So in first gear in the ZX10, I could get all the way to near 100 miles an hour in first gear, and shifting into second, I'm already past 100 miles an hour just due to the inertia of me coming forward at that speed. On this bike, I don't know what the top out first gear is, but it's nowhere near 90. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing or it's a good thing. It's just how they made their bike, and their bike works really, really well. Riding around on the roads so far, that's all I've done, which is what 99% of riders are doing. One thing I wish this had is cruise control. This is one of my favorite drives. Gorgeous views. Also on this ride, guys, we have another moto vlogger here. We have Life on Wheels. I will tag him in the description if you want to go check out his channel. He's up there on the Harley 883 Sportster. He also has a Yamaha R6. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.